Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to a very fun chess event that many of you have wanted me to make some recap videos of. It is the St. Louis Rapid and Blitz, a tournament of 10 players who play 9 rounds of Rapid, and then they play 18 rounds of Blitz, and all of that is summed up into a final score. This tournament was won last year by none other than Hikaru Nakamura, who triumphed in an undefeated dominant fashion. It's pretty crazy, right? So going into this event, he's ranked #1 Rapid in the world, just slightly above Magnus Carlsen. They're obviously the 2 best Rapid players in the world, probably the 2 best Blitz players in the world as well. So this recap is the first 3 days of action, and several people have carried the load of exciting chess. First of all, Hikaru and Alireza. I'm going to try to get through 7 games of action in this recap. I hope you enjoy it. Let's jump into it. This was, I believe, the second round. And it began with a very typical Hikaru kind of, ready, double fianchetto, very non-committal system. But it got committal really quickly when, for a long time, Hikaru delayed playing the move d4, and Alireza said, you know what, I'm going to do it myself. Okay, so we have a capture in the center, and Firouzja asserts a central dominance here, trades a couple of pieces, and uses this pawn as a thorn. He's blocking Hikaru's bishop. Hikaru's going to have to try to build around that pawn, try to push c5 through, while also protecting his king. Here, Hikaru doesn't trade queens with queen to f3 and backs the king out, and Alireza is like, all right, man, you want to fight, you got to fight. I'm going to give you this pawn and open up your king. Hikaru's like, you're dumb, that's a free pawn. He's actually not wrong. Stockfish legitimately is just like, that's a free pawn. So Alireza's like, all right, I'm going to bring my rook. Rook c5, rook h5, right? That's the idea now. Apparently here, white should play knight f3 and meet rook c5 with this absolutely absurd just knight cutoff. And if black plays bishop d6, you have bishop takes d4. If black plays something like queen c7 to try to get the knight, white just goes here. That's what the engine wants. It wants to put the horse in the middle of the freight train and stop it in its tracks. Yeah, like, if don't actually do that, that would really not end well for the horse. Instead of that, Hikaru goes for a queen trade, and Alireza is like, no queen trade, and on top of that, I'm going to make you pay for taking my pawn. And the attack starts raging on the king side. Alireza grabs his pawn back, all right? He's just like, no, you can't have my pawn. Now I'm going to leave. And we can trade. That's fine. You think the attack is stopped. I'm not done attacking you. I'm now going to attack you on the total opposite side of the board. Very interesting idea. All of Hikaru's pieces came this way to defend. He continues to try to fight back on that side. Alireza is now going to start beating up the queen side, right? Softening up the queen side. And also, this bishop is not involved in the game. So the bishop tries to come back, bishop c1, rook b8. We're going to take control. You can trade the queens, but my rook is still very active and very annoying. Alireza now brings another pawn. He's used all his pieces. The only thing Alireza hasn't used is the a pawn. Is he going to use it? Or is this going to be enough? Look at this move. Bishop takes a3. I think this was already kind of going in the wrong direction here, but Hikaru just can't really move. And after this, he can't move his bishop at all because rook takes rook. Alireza just grabs a couple of pawns to go. Backs up, and he manages to convert a very nice game. He played on all 3 sides of the board in this game, and it's kind of fitting that the final move is just straight down the middle. A really nice game from Alireza to kick off this recap. He was just a laser beam. I mean, he was like hydraulic pressing. That's a very fun channel, by the way, the pressing down. Like, he was on fire. But we are going to see some other games of his in today's recap where you may not think that. So, я не помню. I mean, he's just coming off a win in the Rapid Chess Championship, the Chess.com Rapid Chess Championship, over none other than Dmitry Andreikin, who's one of the best players in the world. And Dmitry beat Hikaru, right? So Jan is, I think, in my opinion, just in a sublime form right now, coming off the training camp for the World Championship match, and also coming off of winning the candidates. I mean, this man is just, in my opinion, clearly the second best chess player in the world right now. You can argue it's also Ding Liren, but listen, Nepo is a beast, all right? And Jan playing a Catalan, and then here playing h4. Like, the fact that you can do this in basically any position nowadays is kind of absurd, but it is what it is. Mamedyarov will never shy away from a fight, and he begins bringing the fight down the c-file here against Nepo's pieces. The thing is, Nepo is going to just stop him from playing b5, and Jan is very good in a dynamic positions, but he's also really good at just slow positional grinds, and this game has a nice fusion of both. White breaks up his pawn structure, but now begins rerouting the bishop to the center and maybe even ideas like this, okay? And maybe ideas like this, and maybe ideas like this. Now, that's exactly what Jan goes for. Controls the e4 square, controls the e5 square. All right, knight is going to e5. Here comes f3. Is g4, g5 on the way? h5. All right, so very committal move by Mamedyarov, anticipating the expansion here. And so Jan begins kind of going back down the c file. He has maintained a very steady advantage for most of this game. And then here he uncorks. Boom! Oh, what? What is even the idea of that move? What's the follow-up? I mean, if you play queen d3, that looks very natural, right? Wait, but actually, wait, who guards that pawn? Oh, that's the follow-up. Now, the most insane thing is here the engine also gives f5 and queen g5, and a move ago, the engine wanted white to just go g4. There were several ways forward. Jan gives away a full bishop and attacks the pawn, and knight e4 blocks the attack very temporarily, but now I win my piece back, and I'm going to get that pawn in a little bit, and, well, I showed you g4 a little bit earlier, but look at g4 right now. Just absolutely beautiful rook rotation, and who is going to stop this bulldozer? Rook g4, moving the king off the g line for the next rook to go here. And Jan completely shreds open the position, bringing all of his pieces to the party, and ends the game with just a clean knockout. I'm talking Ngannou, Alistair Overeem, uppercut from hell. Look at this. You thought you were done dealing with this attack? Here comes the knight taking a piece, and rook is hitting the queen. If you take this, I take this with check, and I grab your rook. If you take this, self-explanatory. If you take this, that's really bad news, because this is protected. But you know what else? This is mate in 4. If you block, it's check, it's here, it's check, it's here. And now pick your poison. I can mate you like this, or I can stuff the knights just straight in your face. The man with 2 horses reigns supreme, all right? I think Sun Tzu said that. No, he didn't, but... I mean, just like incredible game from Jan Nepomniachtchi, combining beautiful Catalan play. I think he played this game at like 98%. Like he was just never in doubt winning this position. It was just navigating the position beautifully. It was like a boxer who was a little bit better than his opponent, constantly making him his nervous system overload, you know, throwing the feint, throwing the left hand, you know, coming over the top, picking his body apart. It was just like one step ahead of Mamedyarov the entire game. Nepo was in good form. Now, Maxime Vacher-Lagrave. All right, this man came to the Gotham City podcast. Do you guys know I have a podcast, by the way? I've tried to promote that a little bit more here and there now. Yeah, I've like talked to many strong grandmasters, people not in the chess world and in the chess world. Some people were saying that, you know, you watch me for chess content. You don't want to listen to a podcast. And I respect that. You know, we're all entitled to our opinions, even though that's a terrible one. Yeah. So anyway, castles, knight e4, and we have a Berlin endgame here. This is a very legendary endgame popularized by players after the World Championship match by Vladimir Kramnik and Garry Kasparov. And the point is that black gets the 2 bishops, and you might ask, why did black move the king again? To stop against knight g5, and also to get off the center line. This position has occurred something like several of thousands of times, but here the most popular move is the move bishop to e6. Now, Maxime, unlike many top guys nowadays, goes into the endgame. He does not avoid it. Certainly, he knows all the theory there. This guy's like a chess god. Yeah, he goes into the endgame because he actually likes it, and he has a lot of interesting ideas there. Knight h4, bishop h4. And so already, this is not as popular of a move as bishop to e6. And from this position already, only several games remain, and they're all called correspondence games, which is basically competitive computer cheating. Literally, correspondence chess used to be this thing where you could like play a game, spend like several days, and then like mail in your move. Now correspondence chess actually is just a bunch of people you've never heard of, but they all play engine games. And they actually come up with a lot of very interesting opening ideas. I'm joking. Like there's an entire correspondence chess league. It's like a very legitimate thing. But we also have the TSEC, which is the engines playing against each other. It's just kind of funny. I'm just joking. Please don't get offended. Don't send me angry letters. But that's definitely a thing, and they come up with some interesting stuff. So this position has been reached many times before, with a couple of moves being played, and MVL plays a move that's never been played. All right, so he plays f4. According to my database, that move has never been played before, and that's because black is just very solid, right? And if knight f5, black just goes for this. All right, we shake hands, 2 rooks, 6 pawns each, let's go home. No, this position is very imbalanced. First of all, white has more pawns that are actually playing. 3 on 2. You're not going to tell me these are... No, they're not 2 pawns. I don't care. They're fused. Like, if you eat a container of cherries and one of them is glued together and looks like a butt, you know what I'm talking about. I know it's extremely immature, but they're like glued together. That's 1 cherry. That's not 2 cherries. It's 1 cherry. 2 cherries fused, 1 cherry. Okay, so same thing here, all right? I don't know, guys. I never record recaps at 10 o'clock at night. It's 10 o'clock at night. I'm like borderline delusional. Please deal with my sense of humor. If you think it's funny, let me know in the comments. Be like, I really like when you go on tangents, Levy, because it's a nice fusion between serious chess commentary and also some joking to break the fourth wall to make this quite interesting. Or you can say, I hate when you go on tangents, Levy, but as I said earlier, we're all allowed to have opinions, but some are just wrong. So, king h2, rook h7, and MVL is trying to touch up the pawns, right? He's trying to go this way and this way. And the best way to create some weakness is to cause a reaction from your opponent. So, like in, boxing. I've been doing a lot of boxing recently. That's why I keep making those references. So, a4, a5, a6, right? You want to soften up the structure. b4, c4, b5. You want to soften up the structure. It's going to happen. It's going to happen at some point. There it is. Now, how will Fabiano react? We have c5. Oh, you giving the pawn up. King's locked out. The king is in a tough spot here, okay? So this is threatened. That's threatened. And I'm threatening rook f5 and potentially winning this pawn in the future. Rook d8. Inaccuracy. That is an inaccurate move. I think Fabiano had to go rook g5 or rook g6. He had to keep his rook here. Rook d8. Sidestepping and trying to go rook d2 is wrong. You should not be sacrificing pawns for activity. And he does that. He gives away c5 and he's like, well, now I'm going to get my rook down. But the problem is you got to deal with this. And white now won a pawn and comes back and goes, now what? So you got my e pawn, but you have split pawns. You have a garbage rook, which is blocked in by his own pawns. I'm just start picking your pawns up, right? So Fabiano gets active. Nope. King is still stuck. Rook f3, king back. Rook e2, kicking the king around. And now white goes in again. And you cannot play rook d2 because rook d7 wins this. So he goes rook c1. But now rook f2, the same problem. Black is playing with 1 rook. Black is playing a 2 rook versus 2 rook endgame with 1 rook. Yo, you guys hear this? You guys hear this right now? Look at this. Got these absolute bozos in New York City with their dirt bikes. Nobody thinks you're cool. I hate individuals with really loud cars. Like, don't you? You ever been like just enjoying a day in the park and someone drives a car by like why? We get it. Parents didn't tell you that they loved you enough. All right? We get, but you don't need a loud car for that. You need to surround yourself with a good friend group. All right? Or a good significant other. All right? Or talk to your parents. Jeez, we all had, we all went through some stuff. All right? That's part of living. We all had some tough stuff in our childhood. Well, some of you didn't. Some of you watching this might be like billionaires or something. Yeah, but hey, listen. You also might have had it a bit rough. I don't know. I'm going on a tangent again. Anyway, I hate dirt bikes. If you drive a loud dirt bike around a populated urban area, you're a scumbag. I don't know what to tell you. Honestly, get a life. Better yet, get like a hobby. Don't even get a life. Just like do something. Like chess. Anyway, Maxime played an absolutely brilliant rook endgame. That rook... How long was that rook on h8 or h7? That rook moved once and like a couple times to the same square. That rook almost never participated in the game. MVL basically played this game with 2 rooks versus 1. And this is why MVL likes to play Berlin endgames, because he gets them. He plays them super well. I think his win rate in Berlin endgames is something disgusting. All right? Like 70%. I mean, he just wins Berlin endgames all the time. It's sublime. He's so good at them. MVL's also having a very, very nice event, probably because he, came on the podcast. And also probably because he's like a really good chess player. But definitely it helped that he went on the podcast. And you can also check out the podcast at all podcast platforms, including my second channel on YouTube, Gotham City. Yes, that's me. That's not somebody stealing my content. All right, 4th game. Jeffrey Zhang, we see Hikaru once again. This was a barn burner. This is like halfway through the event. Both guys scrapping constantly. Hikaru's having a little bit rough event, but you're having, you're going to start playing a King's Indian defense. Here we go. All right. This was one of the most imbalanced, complicated games I've ever seen. Black playing some crazy pawn expansion. All right. White getting his pieces out of there, clearing his bishop back in a couple of moves. All right. And what you do in the King's Indian for white is you go b4 and you try to blow black off the board. There it is. b4, b6. Hikaru's like, no. Jeffrey's like, I insist. Hikaru's like, I'm going to counterattack on that side of the board. Jeffrey's like, I want to break through on the queen side. Hikaru's like, I don't care. Now here, Jeffrey does something obscene. He does that. If you let black do this, you got to be real careful. So first of all, bishop f5 here is not a free pawn because there's bishop d2. You can't do this because of this. And then this, queen g5 check, and Jeffrey loses. And that is what I would do, but that's why he's playing in the event and I'm covering his games. Castles, queen f6, and now we have Jeffrey still playing a4. Jeffrey, you fiend, a5. Look at Jeffrey's like, I'm not gonna stop on the queen side. Hikaru's like, all right, Jeffrey, you really want my queen side? Go ahead and get it. Go ahead. Go ahead. Rook b1, get all those pieces over there. Go ahead, Jeffrey. Oh, but look at this. That move disconnects both pieces from this, and knight d5 is on the way. If you get knight d5, you're gonna get this. You might get this. You might get this. You might still get that. Hikaru's gotta act now. He's gotta act right now. Plays bishop e6. Slight inaccuracy, but the attack rages onward. Look at this. Bulldozer coming down the board. He grabs the rook. Jeffrey has sacrificed an exchange here, but he's won 2 pawns. And if Jeffrey can get these pawns rolling, it's going to be like dominoes. One effect, the whole thing is going to collapse. All right? Knight b5, Hikaru plays h3. This is a very important move. It seems crazy that black has queen, bishops, knight, rook, pawns. That move is the best move on the board to soften up the white position. All right? g3. Now look at this. Boom! Gets 2 pieces. But Jeffrey goes to swap the bishops. We have takes, but now Hikaru grabs a pawn. Now here, Jeffrey has to play queen d5, and he does. Hikaru plays bishop to f8, and now what Jeffrey has to do, Jeffrey has to look around and go, all right, I'm down a knight, but what is my best asset? All right, what is it? And he looks around, it's the pawn. It's not the queen or the bishop, because black has 2 of them too. It's the pawn. He's going to go b6. Hikaru's going to try to open up and get the queen in here. Jeffrey has to control that and push for b7. But it's move 40 in a rapid game. Jeffrey plays f4. Jeffrey's idea of f4 was takes bishop d4, which is a good idea. The problem is it loses. Because this beautiful idea by Hikaru, knight e4. Say, Levy, what's so beautiful about that? Just bishop takes f8. You can't even take back because check. That was never Hikaru's idea. He takes. Jeffrey resigns. You cannot escape mate. What a game. I mean, Hikaru turned back the clock, honestly. That was like when you see a dude at the YMCA. Well, Hikaru is not like an older retired NBA player who would be putting up threes in a YMCA. But like, so you see a dude just like raining every 3, boxing out. You know, he got like dad strength. I once played basketball with a group of fathers. I was like 18. They were like 45. Dude, running into them was like a brick wall. Some of you who have dad strength, it's cheating. They should test for that at the Olympics. It's ridiculous. I like couldn't guard these dudes. They were like, I mean, I was also 18. Probably couldn't even guard them now, and I've been hitting the gym a lot. Gains? I had a PR recently. I got a 175-pound bench press. But I got to get my squat and deadlift better. My quads are very weak. Anyway, what a game. I mean, Hikaru gets a best Zhang here. Another awesome game I have for you is Nepo versus Shanklin. This was awesome. Sam had a monster day 3, but this game, whew. So Nepo goes back to his ye old trusty Catalan. We see a position that we've seen already. Queen c2. Is Nepo going to go h4? h4. Jan, you forgot to play h4. No, he's playing it differently than he did against Mamedjarov. Shanklin's preparation is notorious for being savage. He is really good prep. He's trying to give Nepo the pawn back. Look at Nepo. He was trying to sack a pawn to get like pressure. Sam's like, nah, you could have it, stupid. Jan's like, I don't want it, stupid. They just keep calling each other stupid. It was crazy. Arbiter had to step in. All right, Jan's like, I'll take the pawn back. Now, White is trying to go and pressure this. So naturally, Shanklin's going to get rid of his weakness. But Nepo galloping into the d6 square and seems to have gotten the better of the opening. That knight is so powerful. The bishop for White is so powerful. But Sam is a dog. He's not. He's a human. But he's a dog in the sense that he's going to counterattack at all costs. Here he goes. He's fighting back. All right. Queen a4, inaccurate. It's better for White to play b4 or knight b7 here or queen a4. No, I apologize. Not queen a4. What? I meant to say not queen a4, not or queen a4. This was not one of the options for a good move. I literally just said it wasn't a good move. Jeez, got to not record videos this late. And now Sam is able to start fighting back in a really goofy way against that queen, all right? And here's something crazy happens. All right, rook c5, queen a7, this interesting move, bishop d3. You can't take because of this, okay? Now, if white were to play queen b6 here, which just looks like a free pawn, there's a check, and you win the knight. You win the knight, right? Which is why here white has to play king h1. But instead of that, knight b7 happens, and suddenly, something strange starts going on. This queen is feeling a bit suspicious. If you take the rook, which is what Jan does, there's this move. It's like, what? I don't understand. What? King g2. Yeah, it's a draw. It's literally perpetual check. There's no way to escape perpet. It's completely nuts. If the king walks out this way to try to escape perpet, queen h5 here, and you lose because of queen e2 and bishop f5. So Jan is like, wait, what? What is going on? I'm going to give this check, and then I'm going to... Oh, it's a draw. All right. All right, I don't want to draw, though. What? Now Sam's up a queen. And then Jan has one more chance around here to repeat moves, and doesn't, and blunders something crazy. He blunders knight d7. So if you take, I have check, and I win your rook, or I check you, and then win this rook. If rook d7, queen f5 check. You step here, I take, and I take. Jan's losing. What? Sam defended an unpleasant position, and now is just up a queen, and the king is running naked in the forest. What is happening to the white position? It's like a bad season of Peaky Blinders out here. What is the king doing on a6? Dude, somebody get him back in the house. Oh my gosh. What is he, Tommy at the end of season 5? No spoilers. Rook c1, knight b4. Is that the season? I don't know. Rook d1. Sam wins an absolutely insane game against Jan Nepomniachtchi. Sam Shanklin started day 3 of the Rapid with a win over Hikaru and Nepo with black. He's tied for first. What? Sam! Oh my god. Go, Sam, go. And now 2 games for you that ended in about 30 moves. First, Alireza Firouzja versus Fabiano Caruana. He's been having a great event. He's not going to let Fabi play the Berlin. All right, and we have an anti-Berlin, and he's going to play a very provocative line. This line, we've seen this a lot, letting black play h6, g5. Top GMs have realized they can do this. They can just play like this. They just push the pawns in front of their king, and then attack like queen f6. It looks like beginners play like this. But it's not. It's actually very good for black. We have d4. Wait, what? d4? What? Knight g... What? So, I think Alireza mixed up something in his prep here. I think he was supposed to take first, and then play d4. And the difference is that after knight takes g3, you have this, and you say, Levy, I don't see the difference. Where's the... Now e5. And if d5, there's this knight e4 idea, and white is okay. But Alireza played d4 first. Here's the problem with the move order. If you take now, boop. Oops, yeah, chess is like that. You mix up your move order, the other guy prepared, you know, is world championship caliber player. And suddenly, Alireza is just down a pawn, but it's about to get a whole hell of a lot worse. Not only is he down a pawn, yeah, he's going to try to create some counterplay here, just going savage mode. You know, goes full goblin mode, which is something you never want to do in chess. Sacks everything, literally all his pieces. And yeah, Fabiano sacks the bishop with check, which is a pretty savage move himself. And the idea of that is to bring in the rook. So he just gives back a full bishop here, which is a beautiful idea. The queen is going to go guard this, and it does. You're going to see the queen come back. If this, rook e6, and there is no way to stop this, which is so gross. The king is stuck on the h-file because of the bishop. That is disgusting, Fabiano. Oh my god. You can sack your queen as a defensive measure. So instead of that, Alireza takes the bishop. It doesn't matter because queen h8. Shh. Good night. Force queen trade. It's over. Yeah, that's sometimes what happens if you mix up your move order at the highest level of chess. You literally get vanquished to the shadow realm. It's nuts. All right, it's straight up crazy. Now, one more game for you. Shanklin Zhang. All right, this began with a Nimso, but it became this, so could have been a Rogozin. Instead of that, Jeffrey plays this by replacing all his pawns on dark squares. Just interesting. G5, we see this again. All right, no, nice and solid. Sam plays H4, instigating. Jeffrey's like, you can have that. You can have the whole H-file. Now Sam's like, oh, he's going to castle queenside. I should play A4. And A5. Now I'm smart. I stopped him castling. Wait, what? Nah, you weren't supposed to do that. Nah, like, I'm going to attack you now. Jeffrey's like, Attack who, bro? Like, what? Like, if you notice, Sam played a whole plan, and Jeffrey was like, yeah, and Sam was like, nah, you were, like, supposed to lose. Like, you would, what? All right, now Sam's like, I don't want a rook trade. Jeffrey's like, all right, well, I'm going to go here, and then I'm going to kick you out. And Sam's like, nah, you're not going to kick me out. I'm going to keep attacking. And Jeffrey's like, all right, who's going to defend the bishop? Sam's like, I don't care about the bishop. Jeffrey's like, okay, now what? No, but, like, seriously, like, where's the attack? Nah, like, I'm still going to bulldoze the center. Like, where's the... Nah, like, I'm going to rip open the whole center. Sam's like, I'm going to bring all my pieces to the... Let's go. The craziest thing about this position, White never even had a chance to attack. Like, somehow this position for Black completely held up, and Jeffrey just, like, was the one attacking the whole game. And then here Jeffrey played another very nice move, f5. And the point is, of course, if you take, you get crushed. And if you don't take, then the pawns will just show up. Like, you just don't allow White to get to f7. The attack will show up. And yeah, Jeffrey won an absolutely incredible game against Sam to close the day. I felt kind of bad for Sam because this is a game that Sam won after beating Hikaru and Nepo. So Sam was probably just, like, in bulldozer mode. Like, if Sam rolled Jeffrey over completely, he would have been in first place to end the day, to end the entire rapid portion. But after the first 3 days of action, it's close. It's definitely close. The players get 2 points for winning in Rapid. They get 1 point for winning in Blitz. So out of 9 games of Rapid, there are 18 possible points. It is Ali Reza and MVL with 11, Shanklin 10, a cluster of guys with 9, Zhang Mamidyar of Nepo, Caruana Aranyan Dominguez with 8, those other guys at 9. Hikaru's got 7 out of 18. That's kind of nuts. Clearly a little bit off his game. I don't exactly know what's going on. He's had 6 decisive games. He had a really weird streak. He started the event rough. He lost 2 games, then he beat Aronian, but then he had a day of 3 draws, and then he ended the day 0-1-0. The good news is that he's got 18 rounds of Blitz, and he's the best Blitz player in the world. You can obviously argue that there's Magnus. I think he's ranked number 1. Is he ranked number 1? Is he ranked number 1? What? Since when is Levon Aronian number 1? Since when is Magnus Carlsen the 5th ranked Blitz player in the world? Okay, anyway. Yeah, Hikaru and Magnus are obviously the 2 best Blitz players in the world. I meant to say one of the best Blitz players in the world. Magnus is the best Blitz player in the world. Magnus is the best Rapid and Classical Chess player in the world. It's kind of, like, crappy that anytime we talk about, like, someone being brilliant, you have to be, like, not named Magnus Carlsen. So yeah, Hikaru's great, and hopefully he bounces back tomorrow against the field. I am cheering for the guy. I do not like to see Hikaru at the bottom of the standings. Some people do, because, I mean, some people like to see me lose too. It's one of these things, but nah, I cheer Hikaru on. I was cheering him on the candidates. I was gutted he lost in the last round to Ding, you know? So I hope he bounces back. His rapid rating definitely took a hit, but that's life. What are you going to do? I will be recapping the last 2 days of the Blitz for you. I hope you enjoyed the recap. Get out of here.